I think it's very much, so he can protect his daughter-in-law who's he's mad about. I think he absolutely adores her. And I do think that some of the speculation surrounding her has been incredibly unfair. And so I have wondered if maybe a little bit of the way that they've handled this is to take some pressure off of the Wales family.
We don't know what kind of cancer the king has, which is an interesting question because one of the purposes, he says, of revealing his diagnosis is to enable people to those around the world who are affected by cancer to discuss it, but he hasn't given the details of it. We are told it's not prostate cancer. He was originally admitted for treatment for an enlarged prostate, of course. There's one detail that hints at the seriousness of the illness. Prince Harry says he'll return from California to see his father soon. It's been some months since the two met. Kinsey Schofield is a royal reporter and host of the To Die For daily podcast. She's in Los Angeles now. Good evening to you, Kinsey.
Hi, good to hear your voice.
What do you make of, how did the news sort of break over there? We'll talk about the Harry impact in a minute, but what was your reaction to the news generally?
I mean, obviously, I was really shocked by it because the palace did go out of their way so much to stress that everything was fine after the initial surgery. I actually first heard about it when President Joe Biden told reporters that he was concerned about the king when asked about the situation. He said he hadn't spoken to the king about the diagnosis, but he was concerned about him. And I'll be talking to him, God willing, was his statement that he made to reporters. He later tweeted about how courageous that it all was to fight cancer. And he had issues with his son, Beau. He lost his son, Beau, to cancer. So I do believe that he was very sincere in his statement. We also heard from former President Donald Trump, who tweeted that he was a wonderful man, the king, that he'd gotten to know well during his pregnancy. He also said that the country was praying for a fast and full recovery. Every major news outlet across the country had it as their top story. And of course, I think we're a little bit more invested these days because of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex.
Do you think that's right? Do you think that the crownification of sort of the British royal family seems to be a thing in America, where the personal relations, the soap opera aspect, has interested Americans more in the fate of the royal family? Do you think?
I think it's been that way since Princess Diana hit the scene. My podcast is about Diana, so I absolutely think that we are glued to the soap opera element of the family, and Harry and Meghan have definitely provided plenty of that material.
And what do you make of Harry coming home to see the king? Does that feel like a new storyline? I mean, he seemed to have fallen out with William Harry more than his dad. That was always the narrative here, that there's problems with William, but not necessarily such problems with his dad. Maybe we just expect someone to go and see their father if their father is ill.
Well, I do think that here in the States, it was considered an indication that it was a very serious issue, this diagnosis, because when we were first made privy to the Princess of Wales abdominal surgery, and then a few minutes later, we found out about the king's expected prostate surgery. Harry did not hesitate to walk a red carpet a few days later. He accepted an award as a living legend from John Travolta within a few days. So it did not, it didn't feel as heavy for Harry to be participating in kind of such shallow and vapid, I'm just going to go walk a red carpet while my dad's in the hospital. So I think the fact that he did, we believe he got on a plane this evening. It is still, for me, Monday evening here in Los Angeles. We believe he got on a plane this evening and is headed your way right now, with Meghan and the children staying behind, which is a little strange because we have catastrophic rain and flooding right now, not only in Santa Barbara and Montecito, but Los Angeles. So I don't know. It does seem a little bit more serious this time around, knowing that Harry is picking up and going.
That's interesting. You live in a country where public figures tend to be quite open about their health. You can see the president's medical records very often. Do you think it's odd that the palace have gone so far but no further? They say he's got a form of cancer, but won't give any details beyond that. And it says His Majesty has chosen to share his diagnosis to prevent speculation, and in the hope it may assist public understanding for all those around the world who are affected by cancer, which is fine, but probably in order to do all of those things, they might need to give a bit more information, do you think?
Everything they do, there's so much thought behind it. They never do anything on a whim. Everything is so highly calculated. I feel like perhaps they hadn't told everybody they wanted to, and maybe privately they're telling everyone that needs to know exactly what's going on. And once they feel like everyone knows, they'll allow the world to know.
Yeah.
And they just want it to settle with people that are insiders. Or I've said it a couple of times over the last few weeks. Is he just dangling a carrot so that the speculation is off Catherine, the Princess of Wales? So we are focused on him, and we're leaving her alone to rest and recuperate.
So you think he might be taking this upon himself for that reason?
I have over the last few weeks, I've wondered, and I think it's very much, so he can protect his daughter-in-law who's he's mad about. I think he absolutely adores her. And I do think that some of the speculation surrounding her has been incredibly unfair. And so I have wondered if maybe a little bit of the way that they've handled this is to take some pressure off of the Wales family.
That's really interesting. Kinsey, good to speak to you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
That's Kinsey Schofield, the royal reporter, host of the To Die For Daily podcast. I mean, are we entitled to know more, as I suppose is the question. His Majesty has chosen to share his diagnosis to prevent speculation and in the hope it may assist public understanding for all those around the world who are affected by cancer. By not saying what type of cancer you have, it's not going to prevent speculation. And does it enable people to sort of understand more about cancer if you don't give any details for it?
Well, the question that you asked at the end there, probably not. But I suppose it's up to him. Is it up to him ultimately about how much information he wants to give? I don't know.
Are we entitled to know? It's a good question. That are we entitled to know more about the body of the king because of the nature of his job? I mean, he is a constitutional institution, and therefore are we entitled to know more or less? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I presume. I mean, again, one doesn't want to speculate because one knows nothing. But presumably, if you're not told the details of it, that means perhaps it's something that can be treated effectively and early, rather than having any long-term consequences, constitutional consequences.
I'm sure, but again, if that was the case, why not tell us? I mean, the question of intrusion is an interesting one to me because it's harder to intrude into the medical privacy of the king because he's the king and his well-being is connected to the constitution of the country. But maybe you do think it's intrusive to wonder what type of condition he has, and this is as good as it's gone. There's a piece in the paper by Kate Mansi today that says it shows they've changed slightly how they've talked about this by revealing this much, but they've still not gone any further. Anyway, you'll have thoughts on that. 87222, start your message with the word Times, or tweet us at Times Radio.